Welcome back to The Explainer. So, pull up a chair and maybe leave the lights on for this one, because today we are diving headfirst into a real-life, psychological, and honestly completely supernatural thriller straight out of Gujarat, documented in ZTV's Fear Files. No spoilers right off the bat, but I will tell you this. This case completely blurs the line between a mother's deep, profound grief and just absolute spine-chilling terror. We're going to break down exactly how a perfectly normal, innocent family got dragged into this deeply unsettling nightmare. Okay, let's dive into this. Just imagine for a second walking into your living room and hearing a young boy, let's call him Aryan, just happily chatting away. He's talking about playing pillow fights, eating ice cream, maybe tossing around a cricket ball. Sounds totally normal, right? Well, the only problem is he's staring at a completely empty corner of the room. When his parents ask him, hey, who are you talking to? He just gave them this sweet little smile and said, Reema is my new best friend. Ugh, it's that classic, super creepy innocence of a kid just casually talking to thin air that really sets this whole terrifying ordeal into motion.
Section 1. The Invisible Best Friend.
Every good thriller has that slow, creeping build, and this one begins in the most remarkably ordinary setting. Aryan's bizarre behavior didn't start off violently, supernatural, or anything. It really just started with playtime. He was genuinely 100% convinced that a little girl named Reema was right there in the room with him, sharing his toys, whispering secrets, completely unseen by anyone else. But as the days went by, the adults around him started paying closer attention to these one-sided conversations. They'd watch him toss a ball to literally no one or hold out a piece of chocolate to empty space. Naturally, the chilling question on everyone's mind became, who exactly is Reema? Now, at first, his parents brushed it off, which is totally understandable, right? Kids invent imaginary friends all the time.
But guys, that shift happened so fast. Aryan's innocent little playtime chatter suddenly turned into this terrified pleading. One day, he was overheard begging the empty air, saying, Reema, please don't hurt my mom, or she'll get angry. Please forgive her. She's a good girl. Wow, the stakes instantly skyrocketed right there. This wasn't just some quirky imaginary playmate anymore. This invisible presence was now actively threatening the child's own mother. And that's the exact moment the family suddenly realized they were dealing with a very real, looming danger.
Section 2. Meshbin's Dark Deception.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer contrast between what was claimed and what was actually happening. Enter a woman named Meshben. Now, initially, she came into this family's life as a literal savior. She had saved young Aryan from a nasty physical accident early on, which obviously earned her the deep, unquestioning gratitude of his parents. She positioned herself as this super caring, maternal figure who just wanted the absolute best for the kid. But the terrifying scale of her manipulation soon came to light. When the parents finally confronted her about all these strange things happening around Aryan, Meshben had a perfectly ready-made explanation. She claimed that someone, probably some jealous relatives, had cast a dark spell on him. But then a local spiritual healer, a tantric named Babu Bahai, stepped in, and he uncovered a much more horrifying truth. He revealed there was no spell from jealous relatives. Nope. Instead, Meshben herself was the one using black magic, literally attempting to turn young Aryan's body into a permanent living vessel for the soul of a dead girl.
When we look at the details of Meshben's cover story here, we're really seeing a masterclass in psychological manipulation. She weaponized these parents' worst fears to completely isolate them. By claiming a dark spell was already on their boy, she set herself up as the only person who could save him. She promised she'd take Aryan away to her so-called Guruji to get him fixed right after his birthday. And because she'd saved his life before, the parents just blindly trusted her. They were completely unaware that they were actually preparing to hand their son over to the very architect of his torment.
Section 3. The Midnight Mahapuja.
So, with Babu Bai exposing this terrifying reality, there was absolutely zero time to lose. The pacing here becomes incredibly frantic. To sever this dark magic that was binding the dead girl's soul to Aryan, they had to perform this intense, ancient ritual, a Mahapuja, smack in the middle of the night. It was an absolutely chaotic, high-stakes battle for a young child's body and soul. Let's walk through exactly how Babu Bai pulled off this grueling exorcism. Step 1. The Mahapuja actually begins. This involves setting the spiritual stage, invoking protective deities to basically corner the dark energy. Then, Step 2. Confronting the spirit directly. Babu Bai demanded the entity reveal itself, aggressively questioning whatever was inside Aryan, asking, "Who are you? What are you doing in this body?" And finally, Step 3. Severing the bond. This required breaking the specific, magical tether that Meshben had so meticulously created.
And it was right in the middle of step 2, during that super intense confrontation, that we get the most chilling reveal of the entire case. Under the immense pressure of this ritual, the spirit finally spoke, using Aryan's voice. When Babu Bai demanded to know who brought her there, the spirit replied in Gujarati, Mari Bane Balavya, my mother called me. The spirit identified herself as Reema, and she confirmed that it was her mother, Meshben, who had forcibly summoned her soul back from the afterlife to trap her inside Aryan. Just absolutely spine-tingling.
Section 4. Freeing Reema's spirit.
We really need to slow down the pace for a second here, because the confrontation that followed between the Tantric and Meshben wasn't just about fighting some faceless generic evil. It was about confronting profound, incredibly twisted grief. You see, Meshben wasn't your traditional movie monster. She was a grieving mother driven to absolute madness by the unbearable loss of her daughter. So the crucial point is this. To understand the terrible logic behind her actions, we have to look at her desperate obsession to keep a lost soul forever. She honestly believed that if she didn't bind Reema to a living vessel, her daughter's soul would just slip away permanently. I mean, during the confrontation, she literally threatened to kill the boy before she let them take Reema away. Her twisted logic completely convinced her that chaining her dead child to the living world was somehow a justified act of maternal love.
But Babu Bai firmly shattered that delusion with 5 very powerful words. Don't try to be God. He explained to Mishpan that life and death are governed by a higher power, right? By selfishly holding on to the dead, she wasn't saving Reema at all. She was actively torturing her own daughter's soul, completely denying her peace, and at the exact same time destroying an innocent little boy's life. It's a really heavy, powerful reminder that clinging to what's lost purely out of selfishness only brings suffering to literally everyone involved.
Section 5. A chilling aftermath. Now, you might think the story ends neatly once the exorcism is over, but the real-world consequences of a literal supernatural kidnapping are deeply unsettling, and they leave scars that just don't disappear overnight. The legal system had to step in to handle the very tangible real-world crimes Meshben committed against this family. Let's move in and see how this builds, because the justice served here is frankly remarkably frustrating. On day 1, Meshben was promptly arrested by the police for kidnapping Aryan. By month 1, she was officially sentenced, but get this, only to 2 years in prison. And incredibly, by year 1, she was released early due to good behavior. For a crime that involves such deep, targeted psychological manipulation and the actual spiritual hijacking of a child, a 1-year stint behind bars just feels shockingly inadequate, doesn't it?
Meanwhile, looking at the Pandya family's fate, it's a very bittersweet resolution. Thankfully, because of Babu Bai's intervention, Aryan was successfully saved and completely cured of the possession. Reema's spirit was finally granted her ultimate rights, which allowed her the eternal peace that her mother had denied her. But the heaviest takeaway for us is this. Aryan's parents were left deeply and permanently traumatized. As the father stated in the source material, the sheer terror of what they went through shook them so violently that they may honestly never fully recover from the psychological scars.
Which leaves us with this final, truly terrifying question to ponder. Call it a rumor, call it a coincidence, but ever since her early release from prison, there have been multiple sightings of Meshben wandering through various parts of Gujarat. And the deeply unsettling detail here, she is consistently seen lingering around young children. So, is she simply a broken woman wandering aimlessly, or is she still actively searching for a new vessel for Reema? It is a haunting thought that reminds us some things truly are just beyond human understanding. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope this gave you a clear, structured look into this absolutely fascinating case. Catch you next time.